we're going to start by base coating one of our rocks with white paint. Now we're going to take Jack-o'-lantern orange and paint the background of the rock where we base coated. I did have to add a couple of drops of white paint to my Jack-o'-lantern orange because it's a little bit old and it was starting to thin out. A lot of times with the lighter colors like orange and yellow and a light pink, you have to do a second coat to make sure you've got good coverage. Now I'm going to take a white broad-tipped Posca paint pen to line out my little latte coffee cup. So it's a very simple design. I do it in white just because I have better control with the pen, and then I'll fill it in a little bit with the white and then go back with paint. Now I'm going to take this light mocha, it's a light brown paint, and paint the base of the coffee cup. This is just what I was mentioning before, coming back with white paint to fill in the top of the coffee cup. Now I'm going to take this chocolate bar paint, it's a nice dark brown, and I'm going to create the sleeve for the coffee cup. Now I'm going to take Harvest Orange and a small thin paintbrush and make my pumpkin on the cup sleeve. So it kind of looks like a chunky heart, the same kind of motion, at least at the top, and then you just kind of bring it in along the bottom without making it pointy like you would with a heart. This will probably take 2 or 3 coats just so that orange is nice and bright over the darker brown coffee sleeve. Now I'm taking a Tule Art acrylic paint pen and I'm going to line out my letters. So I'm using the word love, but the coffee cup is standing in for the letter O. So we're adding L, V, and E. And then I'm going to come back and thicken the letters anywhere that there was a downstroke from the pen. And I'm going to come back with black paint and fill this in and thicken it up. Now I'm coming back with a green Tule Art pen and I am going to add the stem to my pumpkin. So as you can see with that darker brown paint on the coffee sleeve, my stem isn't showing up so well, so I'm going to take some lighter green paint and just kind of brighten it up a little bit so that it shows. Now I'm going to take my Sakura Pigma pen, which has an end that's kind of like a paintbrush, and I'm going to outline the coffee cup and the pumpkin, add some coffee steam, and then I'm going to take a dotting tool and add some orange polka dots to the coffee cup. If you've been watching my videos, you know I like glitter, so I'm going to take my orange glitter from Folk Art and use the large dotting tool and just kind of apply that as a border around my orange background. I use the dotting tool because you can get it on nice and thick, and then it has a nice sparkle, and it makes a nice outline for this kind of design. Now I'm just going to take that same dotting tool and add some polka dots to the background of the rock with the glitter paint to tie in the border with the rest of the design. Now for the second design, it's just going to be the coffee cup. So it's going to be a little larger. You can do a little more with the design and play around with it if you want, but I'm going to approach it the same way using that Posca paint pen to kind of line out my coffee cup. And then I will fill it in with white paint to start so that it gives it a nice base coat. Again, I'm coming back with the light mocha to fill in the coffee cup portion of the rock. This time I decided to go with a white coffee sleeve. There's lots of options here. You could pick whatever you want. And then for the pumpkin this time, I'm going to use a Thule Art paint pen instead of painting it on, just to give you a little bit of variety of how you could go about this. I'm going to add my pumpkin stem with the Thule Art pen again, and this time it's going to show up a little better because of the white background instead of the chocolate coffee sleeve. And the glitter is back. This time, because the pumpkin is a little larger, I'm going to fill in the pumpkin with the orange glitter paint, and I kind of put it on thick like I do with the dotting tool, but this time I am using a brush. I'm also adding polka dots with the glitter paint to the coffee cup. You could also do stripes. There's lots of different things you could do with the coffee cup. It's kind of up to you. You can take it any direction you'd like. And then back to the Sakura Pigma pen to outline the whole design. It gives it a nice pop so it's nice and defined. And we'll add a few lines to the pumpkin so it looks like a pumpkin. So my daughter picked out the gold glitter paint for the border on this rock. So we're going to do it the same way we did with the orange glitter paint, but just this time it's gold. I have a confession to make. I've never even had a pumpkin spice latte, and I'm not sure that I would like it even if I did have one. I do love this design. It's so fun and it's so easy, and it fits in with the fall season and the changing temperatures and the changing leaves. Let's dive in and create some retro fall trees to welcome the upcoming fall season. I'm starting out by taking a chalk pencil and lining out the design on each of the rocks. A couple of these rocks have some bumps in them, so I'm going to take some of this Drydex spackle to fill the holes and cover them with a little bit of Mod Podge before I get started. If you want to see more about this, I have another video about how to smooth and prime rocks that I will link in the description. After I've got all the Mod Podge on there and everything is sealed in, I'm going to use Liquitex Gesso to base coat each of the designs. Now let's jump in and add some color. For this design, I am taking Apple Barrel's Harvest Orange and filling in the outside of this tree. Orange is a tricky color and sometimes it can take multiple coats to make sure you have full coverage. The gesso helps with that, but just be aware you might need some extra coats. Now I'm going to take my brown Thule Art acrylic paint pen and draw the tree stump and some branches. I want to make sure that the trunk and the branches stand out on this rock because it's on the natural stone, so I'm adding some Folk Art Extreme Hologram glitter paint on top. Now I'm going to use some Folk Art King's Gold paint and a dotting tool to add some large yellow dots to this tree. And I'm going to swirl out the dots so that there's not a peak in the middle of each of the dots, and then outline the entire design. To finish this design off, I'm going to take a white Posca PC1MR paint pen and write Hello Fall. Moving on to the second design, this tree has kind of a teardrop shape to it, and it's going to have 3 different layers of color. This first layer of color is Folk Art Copper paint. It's a metallic paint that has a nice coppery fall hue to it. And then the next teardrop is going to be a Folk Art Champagne metallic paint. And this one's a lot lighter, so it took more coats to get this one to show up. But this entire tree is going to be with metallic paints. So it took a few coats with this champagne, and then that middle teardrop is going to be with gold paint. For this tree trunk and branches, I am using a Posca PC1MR black paint pen so that it shows up nice and good, and I'm just going to draw a straight line down and add some branches. Add a little bit of sparkle, I'm going to come back to that Folk Art Extreme Hologram glitter paint and add a border along each of the teardrops. So this will be a very subtle sparkle, but when the sun catches it, it'll be noticeable. Along the side of this tree, I'm going to write Hello Fall. Hello is going to be written in script and fall in print. I'm going to come back and thicken up the downstrokes on hello and then add some notches to the word fall, just to give it a little bit of distinct look from each other in the 2 words. This last design has more of a circular tree shape to it, but we're going to split it exactly in half, and the first half is going to be that champagne metallic paint going to take several coats, and then the other half is going to be the King's Gold, kind of yellowish gold paint. I'm going to come back to that Thule Art brown acrylic paint pen and draw the trunk and the branches right down the center, and then the branches will poke out from the sides on this design between the two colors. Again, I'm going to add a coat of the Folk Art Extreme Hologram glitter paint on top of the branches and the tree trunk, just to give it a little bit of sparkle and shine when the sun catches it. Now I'm going to take a dotting tool and the Harvest Orange paint and create some dots in different sizes all over our tree. I'm going to outline the outside of the tree with a Posca PC1MR paint pen because it's a little thicker, and then I'm going to outline all of the dots and the branches and the tree trunk with one of my new Unipin Fine Line paint pens. And the theme of all these designs is the Hello Fall message, which I'm going to write along the right side with white paint pen. Check out how much fun these rocks are once we've got a little resin on them and some sunshine catching that glitter paint. If you're going to give this design a shot, tell me in the comments what colors you're going to use for these retro fall trees. It's officially fall, so let's celebrate with this cute rustic pumpkin rock painting design. Let's get started. I'm lining out the shape of a pumpkin on this rock, and then I'm going to give a nice little quick base coat with Liquitex gesso. I did not smooth this rock out using the spackle like I usually do, and I probably could have, but I didn't. So now I'm going to take some Sunkissed Peach and give a nice background to this pumpkin, because this design is all about blending. So it's going to be back and forth with a lot of colors and just kind of blending and creating a rustic look. And because it's so much about blending, I'm not going to let this paint dry too much, or I'm not going to worry about it being dry in between coats when I start mixing the colors, because I want the colors to kind of mush together and create a neat blended look. So now I'm coming in with a Tropic Orange. It's kind of like a darker peach color, and I'm just going to start creating some dimension and some blending around the curves and kind of where you would see the lines in a pumpkin, just creating some blended back and forth with the peach and the Tropic Orange to see how this color kind of plays out. Now I'm going to get in there with some apricot. I'm not sure how you say that. Is it like tomato? But in any case, I'm going to get in there with this color because it's probably the orangiest of the three that I used. And I want to use it around the edges and in the center to create kind of the shape and the lines of the pumpkin. So these colors are more, I would say, more in the peachy family than they are the orange. But they definitely lean orange, just I didn't use any of the bright Halloween or pumpkin orange paints. So what you'll see me doing is putting the paint down and then coming back with a wet paintbrush to kind of blend it in with the other colors underneath it. I also came back through with some parchment color. It's kind of like a very light off-white color, just to add a little bit of dimension around those lines for the middle of the pumpkin as well. You can definitely see all of the divots in this rock, and I really had to pay attention to making sure that the paint got in there. So I kind of wish that I had done my trick and smoothed it with the spackle ahead of time just to give a nice smooth canvas, but it still worked, and I think it gives it some character. Now that I've got the pumpkin the way I want it, I'm going to add a stem, and I'm going to use gold paint because I'm going for kind of a metallic look to create the rustic look with the flowers. So I wanted the stem and the little curlicues to be gold. And I'm going to use this copper, berry, and rose gold metallic paint to create some flowers, and I'm using kind of the similar technique that you've seen me do on a lot of my designs, where I create kind of these swirly flowers and then I swirl another color into it, and they look kind of like flower petals, kind of abstract flower petals. And these metallic paints definitely take a couple of coats to make sure that you've got solid coverage, but I'm just swirling them on, going from the berry to the copper to the rose gold, and creating this nice little cascade of flowers around the top of the pumpkin. Now that I'm coming in for more filling in on that opacity, I'm not going to worry about this coat drying. I want it to still be wet, and then I'm going to come in with a disposable eyeliner brush and the rose gold, because it's the lighter color to give it the most contrast, and just kind of swirl in some flower petals. And you can go back and forth between the dark base color and the lighter color you're swirling in, just to give it the effect you want. Whenever you're happy with the way it's swirling or the petals that you're drawing in, you can stop. Just one of the keys is to make sure that paint is not dry when you start swirling. So add that little base coat on the same color as the main flower, and while it's still wet, come in with that contrasting color and start swirling. To keep with that metallic theme, I'm going to put metallic green leaves kind of smothered all over our little cascading flowers. And this also will take a couple of coats to make sure that I get solid coverage, but it just adds a little pop of color and greenery. Now I'm going to take two different sizes, the 0.8 and the 0.2 of my Uni Pin Fine Line pens, and I'm going to create the swirls and the petals within the flowers. So I'm just kind of making like a circular swirl, and then you can kind of make little C-shaped petals. It's however you want to do it, and just kind of abstract, but it gives a little bit more definition to the colors that we swirled in there. I'm also going to use the 0.2 Uni Pin Fine Liner to outline those leaves and put a little line down the middle just to give them a little more definition as well. Now I'm going to take a broad-tipped Uni Posca paint pen, and my pumpkin wasn't quite centered, and I was going to write something like fall vibes or hello fall, but then I thought, oh, let's do something where it starts on the pumpkin and then it carries through to that naked part of the rock. So I decided to write grateful on here, and I'm using the Posca pen as a base coat, and then I'm going to come back through with gold paint, and I'm taking a fine disposable eyeliner brush to fill in the little divots with the gold paint first to make sure that there's coverage there and no white is popping through. And then I just came through with a fine paintbrush and put the gold paint all over the lettering. The rest of my pumpkin needs an outline, so I'm going to do that with one of the Uni Pin Fineliners very carefully because I don't want to tear up the pen tip. And then I'm going to come back with some gold glitter paint and a dotting tool and just really sparkle up that gold paint on the letters. So I like using a dotting tool when I have enough space to kind of put it on there and push it around, and it gives good coverage for glitter paint. And then because I wanted the lettering to pop a little bit more, I came back through with one of those fine liners and created a shadow by going to the side and down from each letter. I just created that shadow just to make those letters pop up off of the rock a little bit more. And then a little resin later, and this thing is so cute and it's so sparkly and so much character even with those holes. And this is another one that I played around with the same kind of rustic idea but a different color palette. Thank you so much for stopping by to watch. I hope you're as excited about fall as I am. I can't wait to see what you're going to create. Click on this video for some more fun ideas. Take care, and I'll see you next time.